The ruins of New York City stretched as far as the eye could see, a graveyard of steel and glass swallowed by time. 500 years had passed since the last human walked these streets. Now, the only footsteps belonged to the Zapirian archaeological team, their six-legged forms moving gracefully through the overgrown wreckage. Scholar Vexis led the expedition, her chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under Earth's pale sun as she adjusted the holographic scanner on her forearm. Another day, another pile of primitive relics, Vexis muttered, her voice dripping with disdain. She kicked aside a rusted metal sign, the faded letters barely readable, Times Square. Honestly, what did the Federation expect us to learn from these mammals? Their entire civilization collapsed under the Vorac Empire's first wave. Pathetic. A younger Zapirian, Talis, crouched near a collapsed subway entrance, her antennae twitching as her scanner beeped erratically. Scholar Vexis, I'm picking up an energy signature beneath us. It's faint, but it's structured, artificial. Vexis scoffed, mandibles clicking in irritation. Probably another of their crude fission reactors. These humans loved poisoning their own planet. Talis hesitated, then adjusted her scanner's sensitivity. No, this is different. The signature is encrypted. Military grade, if I had to guess. That gave Vexis pause. She strode over, her multiple eyes narrowing at the readout. Military. The humans didn't even put up a fight when the Vorac came. Their so-called United Earth Space Navy was wiped out in hours. Then why is this still active? Vexis flicked her antennae dismissively. A glitch, or a dead man's switch from some long-dead officer who thought he was clever. She turned to the rest of the team. Pack up. We've wasted enough time on this backwater. Talis didn't move. Her scanner beeped again, louder this time. Scholar, I really think we should. Fine, Vexis snapped. If it'll shut you up, dig, but make it quick. The team's drones whirred to life, their plasma cutters slicing through layers of collapsed concrete and twisted rebar. Hours passed as they excavated, the sun dipping below the skeletal remains of skyscrapers. Then, just as Vexis was about to call it off, one of the drones hit metal. Not just any metal, a blast door, 20 feet across, its surface still gleaming despite centuries of neglect. Vines and rust clung to its edges, but the center was pristine, untouched by time. What in the name of the 7 stars? Vexis whispered. Talis ran her scanner over the door. It's sealed. Atmosphere inside is stable, and she froze. Scholar, it's transmitting. Vexis' exoskeleton flushed a dark purple shock. That's impossible. Nothing human should still be functional after 5 centuries. The team exchanged uneasy glances. One of the drones extended a probe, interfacing with the door's control panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deep, resonant clunk, the door shuddered. Dust rained from its edges as hydraulics, silent for centuries, groaned back to life. The door slid open. Cold air rushed out, carrying the sterile scent of preserved machinery. Inside, the bunker stretched into darkness, its walls lined with dormant consoles and flickering holographic displays. At its center, mounted on a pedestal, was a black box, sleek, unmarked, and pulsing with a soft blue light. Talis stepped forward, her voice hushed. That's a USN flight recorder, a warship's black box. Vexis approached cautiously, her earlier arrogance replaced by wary curiosity. She reached out, then hesitated. Why would the humans bury this here, and why is it still transmitting? Talis didn't answer. Her scanner was going wild, its display flashing with decryption progress. Then, without warning, the black box emitted a sharp, piercing tone. A hologram flickered to life above it. A human face, gaunt and grim, clad in a tattered uniform. This is Captain Elias Kane of the USN Defiance, the recording said. the voice crackling with static. If you're hearing this, protocol, last light has been activated. The Vorac think they've won. They're wrong. The hologram flickered, then changed. A star map, highlighting a set of coordinates deep in the void beyond Pluto. A countdown appeared beneath it, ticking steadily downward. We left you a gift, Kane's voice continued. Come and get it. Silence fell over the bunker. The Zapirians stared at the hologram, their exoskeletons shifting colors in unease. Vexis was the first to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. Call the High Archive, she said. Tell them we were wrong about the humans. The black box hummed softly in the sterile glow of the Zapirian High Archive's analysis chamber. Scholar Vexis tapped a clawed finger against its rusted surface. Her 4 eyes narrowed in disdain. Primitive, she muttered, a relic of a species that barely scratched the stars before collapsing under its own weight. Around her, the other scholars of the High Archive murmured in agreement. Their holographic displays flickered with scans of Earth's ruins, crumbling cities, rusted vehicles, the skeletal remains of a civilization they'd long dismissed as insignificant. Talis, the junior researcher who'd found the artifact, adjusted his scanner. The signal is still active, he insisted. It's not just a recording, it's transmitting. Vexis scoffed. To what? The rats in their ruins. The humans are gone, Talis, extinct, wiped out by the Vorac 5 centuries ago. A holographic projection flickered to life above the black box, a cracked, faded emblem of the United Earth Stellar Navy. The room fell silent as a voice, distorted by time but unmistakably human, crackled through the speakers. Wezen Defiance Final Log Protocol. Last light engaged. Coordinates locked. Countdown initiated. Talis frills flared in alarm. Countdown. What countdown? The hologram shifted, revealing a string of numbers ticking backward. Fey. Vex's claws twitched. It's a malfunction, some residual energy loop in their crude circuitry. Talis wasn't convinced. He tapped his console, pulling up a star map. The coordinates, they're not on Earth. They're in deep space, beyond Pluto's orbit. The other scholars exchanged glances. One of them, an elder with scarred carapace, leaned forward. The humans had no colonies that far out. Their records show nothing. The black box hissed. The voice returned, clearer now. To whoever finds this, you weren't supposed to. A chill ran through the room. Vexis snarled. Enotheatrics deactivated. Talis ignored her. He boosted the signal, feeding it into the archive's mainframe. The hologram expanded, revealing schematics sleek, angular ships hidden in the dark, buried in ice and rock, thousands of them. Wezen hibernation fleet status, nominal, the voice continued. Awakening sequence, pending. The countdown hit Fey. Talis' voice was barely a whisper. They weren't extinct, they were waiting. Vexis slammed a fist onto the console. Impossible. The Vorac scoured their systems. They left nothing alive. The hologram flickered again. This time, it showed something new. A massive dreadnought. Its hull pitted with age, but its weapons pristine. The name USN Atlantica gleamed on its side. Hostile Xeno contact detected, the voice announced. Protocol last light confirmed. Awakening fleet. The countdown accelerated. Fey. Panic rippled through the scholars. The elder stood, his voice trembling. We need to alert the council. If the humans are still out there, Vexis cut him off. They're not. This is a malfunction, a glitch in some ancient machine. The Vorac made sure of it. Talis pointed at the hologram, then explained that. The image zoomed in on the Atlantica's bridge, cryo. Pods hissed open. Human figures stirred inside. One of them sat up. Captain Ryan Blake's eyes snapped open. The black box emitted a final, chilling message before falling silent. You dug up our graves. Now we dig up yours. The countdown hit 0, the hologram winked out somewhere. In the dark beyond Pluto, engines roared to life. The void beyond Pluto had been silent for 5 centuries. Ice clung to the hull of the USN Atlantica like a burial shroud. The Dreadnought-class warship floated motionless, its massive railgun turrets frozen in place, its engines dark. To any passing scout, it was just another derelict, another relic of a dead species. Then the black box signal reached it, deep within the Atlantica's core. A single light flickered to life. Then another. Then 100 more. The ship's AI, dormant for centuries. Booted up in milliseconds. Hostile Xeno contact detected. The voice echoed through the empty halls, bouncing off cryo. Pods lined up like coffins. One by one, the pods hissed open. Frost peeled away as the first of the crew stirred. Captain Ryan Blake gasped, as his lungs remembered how to breathe. His hands clenched, the neural interface in his palm, flaring blue as it reconnected with the ship. Around him, his officers groaned back to life. Commander Hale rubbing her temples, Lieutenant Chen coughing up cryo fluid. Status report, Blake croaked. The AI responded instantly. Primary systems online. Weapons charged. Cryo. Revival sequence complete. Welcome back, Captain. Blake staggered to his feet, gripping the edge of his pod. The bridge view screen flickered to life, revealing the endless black of space. No stars. No movement. Just the Atlantica, alone in the dark. Where are we? Hale asked, her voice rough. Edge of Sol system. 512 years, 4 months, 16 days since last activation. Chen cursed. They really did it. They made us sleep through the whole damn war. Blake moved to the command chair, his muscles protesting. The neural interface fed him data. Ship integrity, weapon status, fuel reserves. Everything was green. Everything was ready. Play the contingency message, he ordered. The screen shifted. A woman appeared. Admiral Lisa Hayes, long dead. Her face frozen in time. If you're hearing this, the Vorac think they've won, she smirked. They haven't. Operation Last Light was never about surrender. It was about making them believe we were gone. Hale's breath hitched. They let the Vorac wipe us out. The Vorac needed to think humanity was extinct, Hayes continued. So we gave them extinction. We let them burn Earth. Let them scatter our colonies. Let them laugh over our graves. Her smile turned sharp. But graves can be dug up, and so can wars. The screen split. A star map appeared, pulsing with red markers. Sleeper fleets are activating across the galaxy. The Atlantica is the first. Your orders are simple. Hit the Zapirians hard. Make sure the whole galaxy sees. Blake exhaled. They used the Zapirians as bait. The Vorac will come, Hayes said. And when they do, show them why humanity never fights fair. We fight to win. The transmission ended. Silence. Then the Atlantica's engines roared to life. The ship shuddered as ancient thrusters burned away centuries of ice. Railgun turrets unlocked, tracking invisible targets. The bridge lights brightened, casting long shadows as the crew scrambled to stations. All systems nominal, Hale reported. Weapons hot, shields at full, Chen grinned. Hell of a wake-up call. Blake leaned forward in his chair. Navigation. Plot a course for the Zapirian homeworld. Maximum burn. Course locked, the AI confirmed. Warning, Zapirian defense grid detected. Estimated resistance. Moderate. Blake smirked. Moderate, cute. The Atlantica's FTL drive whined as it charged. Space twisted around the ship, reality bending as it prepared to leap. Send a fleet. Wide ping, Blake ordered. Let every sleeper ship know the war isn't over. It's just starting. Ping sent, awaiting response. Seconds passed, then signal received, multiple contacts awakening, USN Defiance responding, USN Vanguard responding, USN Titan responding. The AI paused. Total fleet count, Fei vessels and rising. Hale whistled. They really did hide an entire damn navy. Blake clenched his fist. Helm jump. The Atlantica vanished in a flash of light. The trap was sprung. The Vorac just didn't know it yet. The Zapirian homeworld glittered like a jewel in the void, its spires reaching toward the sky, its orbital platforms humming with activity. Scholar Vexis stood in the Grand Archive's broadcast chamber, her forearms gesturing dramatically as holograms of Earth's ruins flickered around her. The chamber was packed with scholars, politicians, and military advisors, all eager to hear the findings of the expedition. The humans were a curious species, Vexis announced, her voice dripping with condescension, but ultimately a failed experiment. Their cities crumbled, their technology was crude, their extinction was inevitable. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. A few junior researchers shifted uncomfortably, but none dared speak against her. Talis stood near the back, his claws tightening around the data tablet in his hands. He had tried to warn them. The signal from the human black box wasn't just a relic, it was alive. Vexis continued, her mandibles clicking with amusement. We have studied their remnants, their so-called greatest achievements, pathetic attempts at spaceflight, laughable weapons, fragile structures. The Galactic Federation was right to dismiss them as irrelevant. Talis couldn't stay silent any longer. Scholar Vexis, he interrupted, stepping forward. The signal we recovered. It wasn't just a recording, it was transmitting coordinates. The chamber fell silent. Vexis' antennae twitched in irritation. Irrelevant, she snapped. Even if their machines still function. What of it? The humans are gone. Talis swallowed hard. What if they aren't? Laughter erupted. A military advisor, clad in the silver armor of the Zapirian defense fleet, clapped a clawed hand on Talis' shoulder. You've been staring at human relics too long. Junior, they were weak. They died. End of story. Vexis smirked. Let this be a lesson to all aspiring scholars. Do not let sentiment cloud your judgment. The humans were nothing more than the lights flickered. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through the chamber, rattling the holograms. The laughter died instantly. What was that? Someone whispered. Alarms blared across the planet. Emergency lights bathed the room in crimson. A voice crackled over the planetary defense network. Frantic, unidentified vessel just warped into high orbit. Massive energy signature. It's human. The crowd erupted into chaos. Vexis' mandibles hung slack, impossible. Talis rushed to the nearest viewport, pressing his face against the reinforced glass. The sky above the capital, once clear and blue, was darkening. A shadow eclipsed the sun, growing larger, blotting out the light. The USN Atlantica descended. Its hull was scarred, its armor pitted from centuries of silent slumber, but its weapons gleamed like fresh forged steel. Railgun turrets the size of skyscrapers swiveled into position. The dreadnought's engines glowed crimson, casting an eerie light over the city below. A transmission cut through every comm channel on the planet. The voice was calm, cold, utterly human. Attention, Zapirian High Command. This is Captain Ryan Blake of the United Earth Stellar Navy. Vexis stumbled back, her exoskeleton paling. No, this can't be. Blake's voice continued. Each word a hammer blow. You dug up our graves. Now we dig up yours. The Atlantica's main cannons charged, their cores burning brighter, hotter. The air itself seemed to tremble. Talis turned to Vexis, his voice barely a whisper. You called them weak. The first shot struck the planetary shield. The impact sent shock waves rippling across the sky. The shield buckled, then shattered like glass. The second shot hit the Grand Archive. The building vaporized in an instant, reduced to molten slag. Vexis had just enough time to scream before the blast consumed her. Tallis was thrown back, his body slamming against the far wall as the chamber collapsed around him. Outside, the Atlantica hovered like a spectre of death, its weapons locked onto every major city, every military installation. Blake's voice echoed once more. "This is your only warning, surrender, or we reduce your world to ash." The Zapirian defense fleet scrambled, fighters streaking upward in desperate formations. The Atlantica didn't even bother to evade. Its point, defense guns flickered to life, swatting the ships from the sky like insects. Tallis dragged himself from the rubble, his vision swimming. The sky burned. The city burned. And above it all, the human warship loomed, its cannons humming with barely restrained power. He had been right. The humans weren't extinct. They were angry. The Vorac High Command was in chaos. Screens flickered across the war room, each displaying the same impossible sight, human warships waking from their graves. Dread, King Voraxis slammed a clawed fist onto the command table, cracking the reinforced surface. His 4 eyes burned with fury as he turned to his advisors. "Explain this," he snarled. "You swore humanity was extinct." High Tactician Krell trembled, his armored plates rattling. "They were, my lord. Our fleet scoured their worlds. Their cities burned." A new alert blared across the room. Another system lit up, human signatures flaring to life in the dead zones of space, places the Vorac had declared cleansed centuries ago. "Then what is that?" Voraxis roared, pointing at the holographic display. The image shifted, a massive dreadnought, its hull scarred but intact, slid free from the ice of a rogue planet. The USN Titan's wrath. Then another, and another. Krell's voice cracked. "Sleeper fleets, they must have hidden them before the war." Voraxis turned to the comms officer. "Open a channel to the Zapirians. I want answers." The officer hesitated. "My lord, the Zapirian homeworld is under siege. The human flagship, the Atlantica, has their capital in firing range." A murmur rippled through the command staff. Voraxis felt the first cold trickle of fear. Then the main screen flickered. Static hissed before resolving into a figure. A human woman in an admiral's uniform, her face stern, her eyes sharp. Admiral Lisa Hayes, dead for 500 years. The Vorac officers recoiled. Voraxis stepped forward, his voice a growl. "This is a trick, some Zapirian deception." Hayes smirked. "No trick, Dread. King, just good old-fashioned human patience." The hologram gestured, and the display split, showing dozens of systems, each with human warships powering up. "You thought you won? We let you think that." Voraxis' claws flexed. "You sacrificed your entire species." Hayes laughed. "Sacrificed? No, preserved. While you celebrated, we slept. While you built your empire, we waited." And now her smile vanished. "Now you learn why humanity never fights fair." The transmission cut silence. Then the alarms screamed again. "Multiple warp signatures," a sensor officer shouted. They're everywhere." Voraxis whirled to the tactical display. Human ships blinked into existence across Vorac space, behind supply lines, near shipyards, even above their throne world. Krell staggered back. "It's a coordinated strike. They've been planning this for centuries." Voraxis felt the weight of it, the sheer, terrifying scale of human patience. They hadn't just hidden. They'd studied, learned, waited for the perfect moment to rip the galaxy from his grasp. A new voice crackled over the comms, Captain Ryan Blake of the Atlantica. "Voraxis," Blake said, his tone ice. "You wanted relics. Here is one. Human mercy, stand down, or we dig up your civilization the way you dug up ours." The line went dead. Voraxis stared at the screens, at the fleets materializing like ghosts from the void. For the first time in his long, brutal reign, the dread king of the Vorac Empire felt fear, and the galaxy watched, the Zapirian scholars trembling in their archives, the lesser species hiding in the shadows, the entire Galactic Council, their smug superiority shattered in an instant. Humanity wasn't extinct. They'd been hibernating, and now they were awake. The void between Pluto and Neptune shimmered with unnatural light as the Vorac Armada tore through space. 300 warships, their blackened hulls scarred from 1,000 battles, formed a spearhead aimed straight at Earth. Dread, King Voraxis stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Annihilator, his forearms clasped behind his back. His mandibles twitched in anticipation. Humanity's last stand, he hissed, and this time we erase them completely. His tactical officer, a spindly Vorac named Crix, adjusted his display. All ships report ready, Majesty. The sleeper fleets they awoke are scattered. We outnumber them 10 to 1. Voraxis grinned. Then let us finish what we started 5 centuries ago. The Armada surged forward, plasma cannons charging. Ahead, Sol's pale light reflected off the USN Atlantica, standing alone against the tide. Captain Ryan Blake's face filled the view screen, his expression calm. You really don't learn, do you? Blake said. Voraxis snarled. You are one ship against an empire. Your pitiful resistance ends today. Blake leaned back in his chair. See, that's the thing about humans. We don't do pitiful. A proximity alarm blared. Crix's claws scrambled over the controls. Majesty, sensors detect. The Atlantica's comms crackled. A new voice, synthetic and cold, cut through the noise. Hostile fleet identified. Engaging protocol. Iron reckoning. Space rippled. From the shadow of Neptune's rings, 100 railgun rounds streaked out, punching through Vorac shields like paper. Ships exploded in silent blossoms of fire. Then, from the asteroid belt, another wave emerged, sleek human frigates, their engines flaring to life after centuries of silence. Crix's voice shook. They were hiding in the debris fields. Voraxis roared. Impossible, scans showed nothing. Blake's smirk was razor sharp. You scanned for heat signatures. We powered down, cold as the grave. More ships appeared from the gas giants, from the Oort cloud from behind the sun itself. The USN Defiance, its hull still bearing the scars of its last battle 500 years ago, warped into the heart of the Vorac formation. Its AI's voice boomed across all channels. Surprise. The Defiance's main cannon lit up, a searing beam of white, hot energy carving through 3 Vorac dreadnoughts in a single shot. Voraxis staggered as his ship rocked from nearby explosions. Regroup, he bellowed. Form defensive. A transmission cut him off. Admiral Lisa Hayes' hologram flickered to life in the center of the bridge, her image pristine despite the centuries since her death. Hello, Voraxis, she said. Bet you thought you won. The dread. King's blood ran cold. Hayes crossed her arms. See, we knew you'd come back. Arrogant bastards like you always do. So we left you a little welcome party. The Atlantica's railguns fired again. The Defiance launched a swarm of drones, each one homing in on Vorac engines. Across the system, human ships moved with terrifying precision, their tactics flawless, despite 500 years of silence. Crix's console exploded in warnings. Shields failing, hull breaches on decks 7 through. The Annihilator lurched as a torpedo slammed into its side. Voraxis grabbed a console to steady himself. Fall back, retreat 2. Blake's face reappeared. No retreat, no surrender. That was your policy. Ours is simpler. The Atlantica's weapons locked on. Payback. The Vorac Armada died in fire and silence. Ship after ship erupted, their wreckage scattering across the void. The Defiance corralled the survivors, herding them like sheep. On the Annihilator's ruined bridge, Voraxis clutched a bleeding wound on his carapace. His screens showed the same scene everywhere. Human ships, untouched, victorious. Hayes's hologram leaned in. You thought you wiped us out, but humanity, we don't die that easy. The last thing Voraxis saw was the Atlantica's railgun charging, its glow filling his view screen. Then darkness. The Vorac throne world burned. Its once gleaming spires lay shattered, their molten remains bleeding into the cracked streets. The air smelled of ionized metal and charred flesh. Captain Ryan Blake stepped over the smoldering wreckage of a Vorac war banner, his boots crunching on broken obsidian. Behind him, the Atlantica's shadow stretched across the ruins like a vengeful spectre. A squad of human marines fanned out, their pulse rifles humming. They surrounded the last intact structure, the Imperial Sanctum. Its doors had been blown open by railgun fire, revealing the trembling figure inside. Dread King Voraxis crouched behind his shattered throne, his 4 arms clutching a ceremonial blade. His carapace, once polished black, was scorched and cracked. Blake stopped at the base of the dais. He didn't raise his weapon. He didn't need to. Look at you, Voraxis hissed, his mandibles clicking in fury. A mammal, a soft, hairless thing that should have stayed buried. Blake tilted his head. Funny, that's exactly what we wanted you to think. Above them, the sky pulsed with fire. Human warships, hundreds of them, drifted in low orbit, their guns still warm. The USN Defiance hung like a dagger over the capital, its AI core flickering with satisfaction. Voraxis' compound eyes darted to the screens lining the sanctum walls. Every feed showed the same thing: Vorac fleets in retreat, their outposts burning, their homeworlds screaming. The Galactic Council's emergency broadcasts blared panicked updates. Human forces emerging from dead zones, sleeper fleets activating near core systems. The war is lost. You cheated, Voraxis snarled, hiding like vermin, letting us believe that we were extinct. Blake finished. He tapped his wrist display. A hologram flared to life. Admiral Lisa Hayes, recorded centuries ago. Her smirk was ice. You wanted a fair fight. Should have picked a weaker species. The Marines chuckled. Voraxis' grip on his blade tightened. Blake took a step forward. You dug up Earth, catalogued our bones, bragged about it to the whole galaxy. Another step. But you missed the point of humanity. Voraxis lunged. Blake sidestepped. A single shot from a Marine's rifle blew the blade from the king's hand. Voraxis howled, clutching his mangled claw. Mercy, Blake said, is a human invention. He gestured to the screens. Your empire's done. Your fleets are scrap, but I'm feeling generous. Voraxis spat purple ichor at Blake's boots. You expect me to kneel? Blake's smile didn't reach his eyes. I expect you to learn. A new transmission cut through the Sanctum speakers, the Galactic Council's emergency frequency. The Octavian representative's voice trembled. Unconditional surrender terms accepted. All Vorac holdings to be transferred to human oversight. Immediate ceasefire ordered. Voraxis sagged. Blake turned to leave. Over his shoulder, he said, "Oh, and one more thing." He tossed a small object at Voraxis' feet. It was a data crystal, the same kind the Zapirians had found in that New York bunker. The king stared at it. What is this? Your history lesson. Blake didn't look back. Play it. The crystal activated. A final hologram bloomed, a human child, standing in a ruined city. The date stamp was 500 years old. The day the Vorac thought they'd won, the child smiled. Hey, aliens, bet you think you're smart. She giggled. We're smarter. The feed cut to static. Outside, the Defiance's engines roared. The Marines fell in behind Blake as he walked toward the waiting dropship. Behind them, the Sanctum's screens flickered with new alerts. Human ships appearing at every major hub, every choke point, every weakness the Vorac had never noticed. On the Atlantica's bridge, the AI announced, "Galactic Archives updated revision complete." Blake leaned back in his chair. "Let me hear it." The AI's voice was smug. Primary entry, humanity was never extinct. They were hibernating. The crew cheered. Blake just stared at the burning world below. One of his officers hesitated. "Sir, what now?" Blake exhaled. "Now," he tapped the armrest. "Now we make sure they remember." The Atlantica's engines flared across the galaxy. 1,000 human ships powered up their drives. Somewhere, a Zapirian scholar shivered as the new transmission reached her terminal. A single line repeating on every frequency, "Never dig up what you can't bury."